We've actually got this video here. This is from Fox News. This is their coverage of the Baltimore bridge collapse. Let's see what they have to say about it.
Here we go. You're not going to believe this. A massive emergency response is underway after this bridge in Baltimore collapsed earlier this morning.
Did you see that? Stunning. The entire span of the Francis Scott Key Bridge came crashing down into the river after a container ship rammed a support beam, as you can see.
So firefighters say as many as 20 people are in the water, and it's being described as a mass casualty event, Kaylee.
And we're awaiting a press conference that's expected to begin at 6.
Wait a second. Why is this called a mass casualty event? Because it doesn't sound like a lot of people died. There are 6 people missing. I don't know if they all died. Okay, hold on. Here we go. I've got a more concrete definition. This is from Wikipedia. A mass casualty incident describes incident in which emergency medical services resources such as personnel and equipment are overwhelmed by the number and severity of casualties. So someone has to die for it to be a casualty? For example, the incident where a 2-person crew is responding to a motor vehicle collision with 3 severely injured people could be considered a mass casualty incident. So maybe it's more like people could die. They're not necessarily going to, but they could. But in any case, it's more about the medical response than the actual health of the people. That makes more sense.
6:15 a.m. We'll take you there live when it happens. Now let's go to Griff Jenkins, who's live on the scene. Griff.
Yeah, good morning, guys. And you can't overstate how significant of a collapse this was. We're learning the details from overnight around 1:30 a.m. That's when this Singapore flag cargo ship hit one of the major beams and collapsed that entire span. The video just stunning, and we are learning this is being treated as a mass casualty event, and there are rescue teams in the water. We've got helicopters above. Where we're standing is on the north side of where the Francis Scott Key Bridge was. I'm just gonna show you, this is as close as we can get, but if Sanford, you'll just push down this road here, this is where the emergency vehicles have been racing down this road, but the bridge where it existed was just down there. The mass casualty event, the numbers they gave us were 20 people as we watch more of the maintenance crews and folks going down this road trying to get...
No, they said that, I heard that the 20 people were fine though. Isn't that what the article said that we just read?
To the north side, but this is one of the major shipping areas, if not the major shipping area, the Patapsco River, where the Chesapeake Bay meets the Patapsco River and brings you into Baltimore Harbor. So effectively, not only is traffic and commuters on the major 695 highway here going south to north into Baltimore stopped, but also the shipping lanes. This is one of the major commerce shipping lanes of the country coming into Baltimore Harbor. Those shipping lanes, sea from the Chesapeake Bay, has been effectively halted as you've got this federal and local response happening right now. We're hoping for any update in a press conference here within the hour, but this is an event that has absolutely brought this city and this commerce area to a halt as they try and rescue the people. Now, we're talking to sources here. Just where we're standing is basically the parking lot of the Maryland Transportation Authority that services this major thoroughfare and bridge, and it is very routine on any given night that in the overnight hours, that's when they would do maintenance. So not only could it possibly be the cars that might have been on the bridge at that time, but also some routine maintenance workers that may have been working on that bridge. And obviously the
that was a very good prediction, because it seems like this video was made before the article came out, and yeah, the 6 people that they were looking for, they were doing maintenance on the bridge.
That video is a significant one. This bridge is gone, and we do not know ultimately whether the number is larger than 20 of the people that may be in that water. But if you are in the car and you just look at the height, 100+ feet of the fall, it's plunging into very cold water. Even surviving the plunge would be questionable. And on top of that, it's cold out here. And the folks out here, it's in the 30s. That water is in the mid 40s. And so you've got a hypothermia concern right now. And of course, as we look at the helicopters up in the sky, there are 4 helicopters hovering above. Some may be news crews, others the emergency response. They can't see much because the sun is not yet up. But one thing is clear, and that is no traffic by sea or land is coming through this thoroughfare right now as the crews are working as fast as they can to try and rescue people, and the number of people in that water unknown. One thing to put into perspective is you're waking up and learning this just doesn't happen. Large container ships don't hit major parts of bridges and collapse them like this, because it is a routine every day, 24 hours a day. You've got these shipping containers coming in. They know where to go. It's unclear. A lot of questions of why this ship would have hit that column to bring the span of that bridge down. We're trying to learn more about that as well. But right now, it's all eyes on the rescue mission. Governor Wes Moore of Maryland putting out a statement just within the hour declaring a state of emergency, saying that he's praying for the people and applauding the first responders that are on site.
Yeah, I mean, low-key, to be honest, I hate being pessimistic. I'm more of an optimistic dude, to be honest. But it's not sounding like those 6 people made it out of that situation alive. If they were alive, I would have expected that we would have heard that they'd have been recovered by now. I feel like generally you don't have like dudes floating in the ocean for like 1 to 2 days and then they're just found in perfect health. That's a rarity, in my opinion. So I can see why he's having that grim reaction to what happened here.
Right behind me, some 500 to 1,000 yards down behind me here, trying to save lives and also to trying to bring into perspective exactly what has happened, guys.
That's right.
Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, so Griff, you set the scene perfectly. There's that live stream video of the port, so we get to see how many cars are on the bridge before the ship inexplicably drives into the support column. And there are, I read, at least 7 cars, and there was at least 1 tractor trailer, but also at the same time, and you mentioned this, routine maintenance going on. Actually, there were 20 guys there apparently pouring concrete, according to the Daily Mail. And to your point, the fall is 180 feet from the top of the roadway at the apex of the bridge into the water. And as a surfer, you know that cold water is important. And I just looked, the National Data Buoy Center shows the water temperature as of an hour ago at 49 degrees and the air temperature at 41. And you're right. Now they got to worry about hypothermia if anybody is still alive in that water.
And, Steve, one thing that's worth pointing out, being from, this area, and, this is, people think, wow, 1:30 in the morning, there must not have been many people there. But there were a lot of people, the construction workers. But also, this is a major shipping area, moving all of our products, from south of Washington up the northeast corridor. This is the main northeast corridor. So not only do you have the shipping containers coming worldwide, delivering many of the products you buy at the stores, grocery store, and other things coming here. You've got the Amazon distribution center as well as several other parts of the Baltimore Harbor here. You have shut down effectively one of the major commerce points in the Northeast, and there would have been a lot of people moving at any given hour of the day along that bridge. And that is why people are starting to realize just how significant of an event this has become. Yeah. But going back,
I've been hearing conspiracy theorists being like, "Oh, the timing of this is suspicious." I'm like, what? I don't understand what's so special about the timing. It's like, oh, this just so happens before the Sweet 16 in March Madness. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, yeah, people are going to come up with some very interesting theories about this. In general, I don't care. Maybe I'll hear a convincing case on like Timcast IRL at some point about why this is some grand conspiracy. But for all I know, this is a tragic accident. I have another video queued up here where we'll talk about we'll see why the bridge got crashed into by that boat. But for now, let's wrap up the coverage here from Fox News.
What you were talking about in the conditions, it's very, very difficult to survive in these hypothermia conditions, to be in that water. And fortunately, the weather is, as Janice was pointing out in first, pretty calm here. It's not windy, there's no storms right now, but it is a major river, the Patapsco River, that comes into Baltimore Harbor. The Chesapeake Bay is out over here to my right, Baltimore Harbor over here to my left, and all of the currents go in that way. And so you've got dive teams that will be limited with the amount of exposure they can take from the elements, trying to find people, along with the difficulty of navigating this thoroughfare and the damage to the bridge. It wasn't just a piece of the bridge, an entire massive span of that bridge has collapsed here, and that is going to make even navigating just the river area through this passage very difficult. That's why they've effectively halted all shipping traffic, as well as obviously all highway traffic through this area.
Yeah, Griff, before we let you go, I know they keep you kind of far back. We're about to talk about the search and rescue. Have you been able to see anything? Have you been able to see the divers go into the water? Have you been able to see any trucks can you see any vehicles?
We've seen, as you can look down here, I'll give you one more look, Brian. You're looking down. This is as close as we can get, and you can see crews and emergency personnel going down this bridge. But if we were to take this camera and keep walking southbound where that car just went down that road and go down there, you would get to where it collapsed. Now, we have not seen, I can't see the ship, I can't get close enough to the water. This is as far as they would let us go, and we talked our way into here. We're learning that Sun Media is actually being held back from where we are, so we're as close as we can possibly get. But when you go down this road, you would see essentially where that span of bridge has collapsed on the north, closer to the northern side than the south side, and we're on the north side of this right here where we're standing.
Joe.
Brian?
Okay, thanks so much.
Yeah, go gather some more information, Griff. Great reporting so far this morning.
We got a statement from the shipping container company. We are closely following the investigation conducted by authorities, Synergy, and we will do our utmost to keep our customers informed.
I did not know that there would be casualties. I thought like, oh, it sucks. A bridge has collapsed, but hearing that there are likely casualties in this whole situation certainly does make this news a bit more grim than I thought that it would be going into it. But let's so there's this video, apparently a local outlet, at least an outlet local to
we are now 8 hours into stunning breaking news out of Baltimore. Around 1:30 this morning,
they had some sort of an expert on who explained
of the Francis Scott Key Bridge.
Apparently they had an expert on who explained why the bridge collapsed. So I'm interested in hearing why exactly the crash happened.
Baltimore. Within seconds, the sections of the bridge around that pier collapsed into the harbor.
Just unbelievable. Ever since then, first responders have been trying to save people who went into the water, and they expect that search and rescue operation to last for several more hours. The people they're looking for include crews working on the bridge.
This is an active search and rescue mission. We know there were individuals on the bridge at the time of the collapse working on the bridge, contractors for us.
That is Maryland Transportation Secretary Paul Wiedefeld speaking there, confirming state workers were on that bridge when the ship hit it, and that's in addition to the vehicles on the bridge at that moment. And joining us right now on the phone is Captain John Conrad. He is a retired merchant marine and runs the website G Captain. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Oh, we wish it was a better day, but we got to ask, when you look at that video of the ship, what do you see?
Well, you see as the ship is coming towards the bridge, it's going relatively fast. It's going about 8 knots, and you see large amounts of smoke coming out of the smokestack. So question is, the engine seems to be working hard. We don't know exactly why it was working hard. Potentially the ship was put in reverse to try to slow it and get a new course. But the engine was working hard, and then we saw a blackout. All the lights on the ship went out, and it looks like the emergency generator kicked in. The lights reemerged, but the emergency generator cannot slow the ship down. All it can do is restore the emergency fire pumps and lighting. So that is, the ship continued to lose course, and the bow was pushed by the wind down into that column, and unfortunately it hit. We also saw there were no tugboats around. Usually,
well, it's nice. It looks like the boat itself didn't sink or anything. So hopefully that means there were no casualties for many of the personnel on the boat. I think that's what the article I read said. But also minimal loss to the cargo on board as well. But unfortunately, whatever's on there, I would not be shocked if it's stuck there for a while.
The Port of Baltimore allows the ships to get rid of the tugs before it gets near the bridge, but the ship likely did have a pilot still on board.
Oh. So it sounds like there were a few steps taken before the generator kicked in. At what point do you make that distress call, and what can cause a ship to lose power?
Well, the most common cause of losing power is a crash astern. So if you did an emergency astern, I don't know that is what happens here, but when a ship comes into port, so when it's coming in from overseas, before it enters the port, it has to do a crash astern test. They make them do that because it is a frequent cause of blackout. So they want to make sure that the ship does not black out when it goes full astern. It's also an older ship. These are minimally crewed ships. The ship likely has less than 25 people on board, and they're highly complicated. So any mechanical issue, electrical issue in the ship's engine room could cause a blackout.
And speaking off camera, you mentioned a bow thruster. What is that, and how could it play a role in an incident like this?
Right. So on the bow of the ship, you'll see if you look at pictures, a circle with an X through it. That's a symbol, meaning there's a bow thruster underneath, and the tugs don't want to press against that area. So there's a little propeller that goes sideways, and that propeller just moves the bow left and right. It's a small, much smaller engine than the main propeller, which is on the stern, and that can help. If the wind pushes the bow off course, as it looks like happened now, that can push the bow back, under the bridge. Problem is, those bow thrusters are recessed. So as the ship picks up speed, the bow thruster becomes less effective. Usually when a ship is going more than 5 knots, that bow thruster does not work properly. So that could be another reason that they, did went full astern to slow down to restore that bow thruster. But we don't know that for sure. It's just an educated guess at this point.
And I have to ask you, what role do tugboats play in all of this?
Right, so a tugboat is the best thing to have when you lose engine, and they're required for close-in maneuvering. So as the ship gets, when it's coming in from overseas and it gets under the bridge and comes close to port, you have to have a pilot on board, and that pilot orders tugs based on the maneuverability and of the ship. And those tugs can push the ship sideways, it can push the heading, and it can also slow down the ship if it's going too fast. But Baltimore and the U.S. Coast Guard, captain of the port, so the Coast Guard captain of the port is in charge of all the port facilities and that, the military person in charge of the entire area. They do not require a tugboat under the bridge. If there was a tugboat there, a tugboat off the stern, usually F2, that could have slowed the ship down, and a tugboat connected near the bow could have pulled that heading away from the column. But tugboats are not required at this bridge point.
Captain Conrad, you know, people are going to be listening to your educated opinion and all of
I wonder if one target of this, because whenever there's a tragedy, legislators love coming up with legislation. I wonder if one thing that legislators are going to target is they're going to be like, oh, well, we need to require tugboats to be on like the front of the back of all boats or of this size or something like that. Wouldn't shock me.
Of this and what happened here. And the obvious question's got to be, why wasn't the bridge shut down if this vessel was in distress?
It was, things are happening really quickly. It seems like it was slow, but this all happened in under 5 minutes. And, there's these ships are very minimally manned. You have an all-foreign crew. They're required to speak English, but how well they speak English is not always known. And you have one local pilot. So you have a captain like me who's an expert in the Port of Baltimore, and he's managing everything. He's trying to talk to the engine room, trying to get tugboats, trying to call Mayday with the Coast Guard. And it's a lot for a very minimally manned ship. And these ships don't have very much automation. So there's been resistance towards using AI to help the pilot and help the ship navigate. It's really operated on old school VHF radio.
I mean, I don't think you'd want AI involved in a scenario like this. I think you would just want more people. That'd be like the easiest solution. But also, this is an old vessel, as this guy has said. So, even if they were utilizing AI for boats, I would highly doubt that they would be using AI on a boat of this type or of this magnitude. You know what I mean?
So unless that bridge is manned and it's not a drawbridge, and someone on the bridge is monitoring that radio and then can quickly put up the signs, in under 5 minutes, it's just not going to happen. If it had been a drawbridge, it's possible they might have got it shut down, but things were just happening too fast to shut down the bridge in this case.
That is Captain John Conrad. Captain Conrad.
Yo, I can't wait for them to rebuild this bridge and for it to cost $500 billion and take 12 years to complete.
Thank you so much for joining us for a few minutes here and sharing your insight and knowledge with us.
Thank you very much for having me.